Today our chapter of discussion is potentisation. Potentisation is the fundamental of homeopathy. Means the homeopathy, which is origin or its starting point, is the potentisation. If potentisation is not, the idea of potentisation is not came across the Dr. Hahnemann, then the potentisation or the homeopathy, which is now become a so much popular science inside India or outside the India, does not become because of the potentisation. So potentisation is the fundamental of the homeopathy. In Hindi we can say that potentisation के वजह से आज होम्योपैथी का जितना भी मेडिसिन डिस्कवरिंग हो रहा है और आगे हो रहा है, और वो क्यूरेटिव पावर ऑफ द मेडिसिन विच इज फॉर्म्ड inside India or outside the India is due to this potentisation. So potentisation is nothing but its definition according to the Dr. Hahnemann is that potentisation or dynamization is a process by which latent natural substance present in a crude state of a drug become raised. Means the in a drug or in a fresh state of a drug material which we collected from a tree or plant or animal sources. In this the sources of the drug are the crude state, but inside the sources or inside a crude material there is a latent natural substance are present. Latent means the very powerful things. Very powerful means here latent, according to Dr. Hahnemann, that he latent means that a powerful curative property of a drug substance which is present in a natural, not latent curative property which we developed by means of a potentisation is not a manual process or artificial process, but it is a natural process. So how it is raised? Due to this potentisation. So potentisation makes the natural latent natural substance present in the crude state becomes raised due to this potentisation and became able to act, and this natural substance which is latently curative property having, so it can able to act in spiritual manner on our life. So what does it means? That the latent natural substance which is present inside crude state but does not having any role before potentisation, by means of a potentisation we or the homeopaths makes the this latent natural property of the crude state become raised and became able to act. Means the property becomes to act in almost spiritual manner on our life. Spiritual means not which we found is not seen, so due to it's not seen, not visible, so we take a word which is known as spiritual. Yes, spiritual means not visible in our life, but it has some very definite role which makes the curative of the disease. So potentisation is divided into two varieties according to the 5th edition of Organon of Medicine on the basis of acting of a drug, that is trituration and succussion. So trituration is applicable only dry drug substance which we collected from the dry leaves or vegetable or dry animal sources. These are triturated to converted into potentizing process, but the fluid or the liquid substance are potentized by the manner of succussion. So Stuart Close is a doctor which give another definition of a potentization, that is it is a mathematico-mechanical process. So what does means mathematico-mechanical process? So mathematico means it depends upon mathematically we calculate the power of a drug, so we call it as mathematico-mechanical because of potentization is a before era of 90s there is no machine are come across, so there is mechanical or manual process we use as a potentization which we discuss in later. So it is a mathematico-mechanical process in which reduction according to the scale of a crude drug substance. So that means the potentization is occurs by means of a reduction, means reduce, means decrease the inert or poisonous material present in the crude state of a drug substance, so that there is the drug substance become physically soluble, physiologically assimilable, and therapeutically harmless, so that we can use the medicine as a remedy. So this is the definition according to the Stuart. So physically solubility means the crude substance which we use before potentization is not soluble in any vehicle such as water or alcohol, but by means of potentization it becomes physically soluble, means the drug substance become soluble in any vehicle, so it is physically soluble. Physiologically assembled means the physiological action we can generate or we can feel. So physiologically assembled and therapeutically harmless. Therapeutically harmless means in the use of medicine or in the medical purpose it is not makes the harmful effect on the disease. So therapeutically harmless, in by this manner it becomes the remedy for the disease. So in this way, and the definition of Stuart clause is. Then what is the description, means how does the potentization come across into homeopathy? So it is come by Dr. Hahnemann. He described in the organon of medicine where the potentization is a cardinal principle of organon of medicine, in which the doctrine of homeopathy on drug divinization is the heading. From this topic we come across the potentization and include in our homeopathic pharmacy. Potentization, how potentization is discovered before 1796 is the first where there is a mention that in the first essay, that is new therapeutic principle of homeopathy, where there is not mentioned any about thing regarding the title of a dynamization, but only a title was given, that is new therapeutical principle of homeopathy in 1796. Then how the dynamization process is comes across in the homeopathy, it is mainly by the experimentation and verification. So in 17 discovery occur, that is in the 1798 there is another a hint was given by the drug action, that is Sabena and Hyoscyaminus, where the 1/16 to 1/30 of dilution of concentration solution or occur by the drug Savannah, whereas stramnium there is the 1/100 to the 1/10,000 concentration of the potentization or dilution occur in the stramnium. So in this way there is another hint was provided by the doctor. Then event 1799 to 1801 there is another hint was given, that is infinitesimal dose or small dose, where he says that the treatise of medicine or collection of a selected prescription. In this title he described about infinitesimal dose or small dose. So in this way the potentization is developed in a small rate. But in the 1802 there is another experiment was given by the Dr. Hahnemann, that he used veratum, merserium and stramnium in the form of a 1/2000 grain and 1/400,000 grain and 1/300,000 grain. So now in the 1803 there is more and more growing occur, because there is in above these years he discovered that the action of potentization is very much popular and very much effective in the way of the disease curing. So in 1833 there is more and higher doses of this potentization was growing occur. Then in the 1805 he written a book, that is Medicine of Experience, where We describe that dynamic action of a drug in the infinitesimal dose required to cure several are fully received by everyone. So in this way he says that how power increase in dynamism. So he does not give any scientific evidence about this term, that is how the power of the drug or the medicine increase by means of dynamism, but he described that the dynamic action of a drug in the small dose required for cure of several cases. But in 1810 he released a first edition of organon of medicine where theory of dynamism was not yet. By the means of 1810 there is nothing emphasized about dynamization, but only there is a history which gives that small dose give to reduce aggravation. Why we use small dose? So small dose makes the aggravation to some extent reduce or decrease, and the small dose which is prepared how? By mixing up a drug with a non-medicinal thing with vigorous shaking. Vigorous shaking is the main aim of the potentization, so that which makes the curative power to increase. vigorous shaking means जोर से हम उसको दबा के मेडिसिन को सेक करके सकसन और ट्राइचुरेशन मेथड में उसका डिस्ट्रक्टिव उसका पावर इंक्रीज करना, वो ये है कि vigorous shaking with curate so that the curative power of the drug increases, means the drug to some extent its curative power is increases by means of vigorous shaking. Then in 1812 to 1815 there is mention that arnica and nox vomica in the 18C means 18 centesimal scale and the 9th centesimal scale. By means we 1816 to 1827 there is many gradually dilution method or potentization method. Many medicine was discovered, but there is lot of followers was made by the Dr. Henneman with lot of criticism also came across to the doctor by many allopath, because how the question is that how the small dose makes the effectiveness of the medicine. So to give the answer in the 1825 Dr. Henneman written a journal where the question was that how can a small dose of such very attenuated medicine as homeopathy employs an effect on the sick. So what does it means that if we use छोटे छोटे स्केल्स में मिक्स करके मेडिसिन को होम्योपैथी में एम्प्लॉय करने से कैसे वो सिक और द डिजीज पर्सन हाउ द इफेक्ट वाज फॉर्म्ड ऑन द सिक पर्सन. So in this answer he says that in preparation of a homeopathy attenuated medicine we have to given in many forms, that the small portion of a medicine is not merely added to enormous quantity of non-medicinal fluid. Means he says that the medicine which we add in the potentization is not general or not in a on scientific way, but in a scientific way by using the small portion of a medicine with enormous quantity of a non-medicinal substance, so that only slightly mingled means mixed with it by non-medicinal fluid, so that with it but by prolonged succussion and trituration. Means he says that we don't use the homeopathy medicine only by mixing or by mixing with non-medicinal substance or by say prolonged succussion and trituration, so that the medicine power increases. So he ensured that the medicine should not only most intimate mixture, but at the same time by the process of a prolonged succussion and trituration there is many most important circumstances was found that it enabled the great change by development and liberation of a dynamic power of the medicinal substance so treated as a excite manner. Means he says that the small doses of homeopathy, how it makes the effect. Means in the homeopathy there is nothing to be merely or uncertain or unscientific way to mix the small portion of medicine with non-medicinal fluid, but it is by prolonged succussion and trituration, which makes a great change in the development of a dynamic power of the medicine substance. So with a exact manner which makes the cure the sick. So in the 1820 to 1833 he discovered that chronic diseases, where he written about small dose, that is only about small dose only up to 2 or 3 times of the titration, but he says that experience taught that higher dilution. But in that time he written about these things, but in that time when he experiment on the medicine, he says that higher dilution make the more effective. So for this sake of the higher dilution, he used the standard dose, that is 30 C for all curative remedy. So for all curation remedy, because there is a dilemma, because he written about a small dose but he prefers about higher dose. So to avoid the confusion, he used a standard dose, and also give to his followers to use that standard dose, that is 30 C for the curation of the curative remedy. And the last, in the 1833 he discovers in the 5th edition, finally Dr. Henneman written about high potency by means of dynamization after dilution and succussion. So by this more from 1796 to 1833, up to that time always he give preference to the experimentation with the observation, so that he add the dynamization in the homeopathy. So it is not a merely superstition, but it is a very scientific manner he discovered the dynamization in the homeopathy. So now we go towards the confirmation of the dynamization that occurs in the 2nd edition of chronic diseases, where he gives the definition which we discussed before, that dynamization is the process in which the latent curative property present in the crude drug substance is able to act in almost all manner in our life. So this confirmation of the definition of dynamization is occurs in the year 1839 in the edition of 2nd edition. So now the process which we discussed, that potentization is occurs by two varieties,